You tell me. I'm trying to be impartial, I guess.
Okay. Well, I'm back, and I hope it works out, and I hope people will graciously.
Mel Gibson, who is one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood and the entertainment industry for decades, has faced a lot of backlash due to his stance against woke culture.
A dog in this fight? You see where he's going with that? What does he mean a dog in this fight? He's trying to refer to the fact that Sam, I don't know if Sam's Jewish, but is likely Jewish, Sam Rubin, right? Or at least that's what Mel Gibson thinks, right? And he's like, you got a dog in this fight? You one of them? Come on, dude, you can't do that, man. That's crazy, dog.
The iconic movie legend and film producer has had his fair share of the cancel culture. But despite all this, Mel Gibson has remained defiant on his stance against the woke invasion of Hollywood, choosing to be a voice for artistic freedom within the industry. His stance has been praised by many, but also attacked and vilified by a lot of people.
Mel Gibson for Braveheart.
The legendary actor and producer has starred in a number of highly acclaimed movies like Braveheart, Mad Max, Apocalypto, and a host of other box office films. But despite his achievements, Mel Gibson has had to face a lot of negativity from Hollywood and the woke press due to his insistence on standing on his own independence from the woke control and suffocation. Gibson's refusal to be controlled has cost him a lot, but still he is convinced that standing for the truth remains the best decision to be taken in an age where the woke culture wants everyone placed under their control.
Seems like you're doing something terribly wrong. You feel like some kind of a, I mean, you feel as if you're committing a crime.
Yeah.
And it's kind of slimy. It's kind of prostitution.
Sure.
But that, I think, is even beyond. It's just kind of watching someone go through the act of prostituting themselves. It's
In this 1998 interview, Gibson revealed a lot of uncomfortable details about the inner workings of Hollywood. It caused him serious backlash, but the icons haven't relented on his stance against the censorship and rampant bullying in Hollywood.
Good to read with, and being expected to come in and emote and look sexy and the whole thing in front of a bunch of strangers.
It's not fair.
It's perverse.
Well, it's not fair on them either.
No.
It's asking them to do something. And you don't find out anything from it. You find out nothing from it. This is the main reason why I really hate it. You can get them in there and somebody might do just a slap-up job for that day, but that's what they've aimed at, that day. You have to be able to figure out whether they're going to be any good for 3 months when you're working.
Mel's major issue with the woke left was his insistence on loving creativity. Instead of conforming to the new movement of churning out politically correct movies, even way back when the issue of cancel culture wasn't much of a problem. Gibson has always been keen on pushing boundaries with his craft and doing the most to foster the artistic creativity behind filmmaking.
I succumb to the charm of film and filmmaking, and I love it, and I love telling the story, and I love everything about it. Even the crappy things about it, I kind of like. And it kind of, I guess it gets almost to a question of like kind of religion. Mecca for filmmakers is this industry here. It's where there's the biggest pool. It's the watering hole where everyone comes to see, to measure up, to include themselves in the pool, their talent, and that collective thing. It's like you go to the smorgasbord to feed your...
Mel Gibson, during this interview, mentioned something very sinister going on in Hollywood, an experience that sent shivers down his spine.
And we swapped tortures, because I'd read this book on torture, and I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book, and he was like, oh, and he'd try and top it. And my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold. And then he left, and I wanted to leave. And because I knew that I didn't want to work with him. Yeah. And he was getting scary.
Yeah.
And then I turned around and it was on top of the Peninsula Hotel. I turned around to avoid his steady gaze at one point, and I was looking at a building with the top of the sixes on it, so there was a huge illuminated triple six in red. And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist, you know?
There's certain trends that seem to kind of float together.
The dark side of Hollywood has been an ongoing narrative for ages, but nothing corroborates to it more than the recent attacks that came against Mel Gibson on his new movie, The Sound of Freedom, a film that touched on the realities of child trafficking in Latin America, a subject that Hollywood for some reason seems to avoid by all means.
The film's based off the true story of Tim Ballard, a former Homeland Security special agent who saved kids from an international sex trafficking ring.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescue.
Attacked the movie so viciously, it's baffling to think that an industry that claims to fight for freedom and equality of all lives will stand so furiously against the freedom of children.
These films are created out of moral panics, they're created out of bogus statistics, they're created out of fear, and with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites.
This is not the first time Mel Gibson would be creating controversial movies that talk about subjects that anger the woke left. Mel Gibson's movie Passion for the Christ, which told the story of the Christian central figure Jesus Christ, was also a box office material, and it went to do extremely well in the theaters across the globe.
It got into my head about that. I just kept having visions about it, you know, and about, you know, what was that like 12 hours like? And what was that really like? I mean, what does it mean to get scourged and crucified, and the significance of what one single event and what one God-man has done historically and changed civilization. I mean, this is like an amazing thing. I mean, and of course, you know, you step into that arena, you know, it's going to create some fire.
Pretty obvious that Mel Gibson isn't the kind of person who allows his creativity to be limited. He put it all out there when he went into the production of The Passion of the Christ, and as usual, he made it work. This also caused his name to be blacklisted by the woke left, as religion and Christ isn't a topic the woke media are too fond of. We can understand why Mel Gibson would come under the scrutiny of the media, and since his deviations were noticed, he has been attacked on all sides. A huge attempt to cancel and smear his name has been underway for decades. But regardless of these assaults, Mel Gibson has remained true to what he believes in.
Of course it was too much. Yes, that was the whole point of it. It was the mystery of suffering. And which is the sacrificial lamb, you know. I mean, if it was easy, it isn't worth much. So, and believe me, I did a lot of research on it, and according to all the research, it was way worse than that, anything I showed you. So, it was worthwhile.
So you got that movie in the can, and did you have expectations at that point? Did you have any? I mean,
No.
the media was kind of down on it. Was there any sense
Everyone
of
was
it
throwing
being-
rocks. I mean, it was like, I was just ducking stuff, you know, the newspaper, they all pig-piled on, and I was like, you know, seriously persecuted. And as an artist, as a filmmaker, as a man, as a Christian, and as an American even, you know, my rights were violated in every way you can imagine, and no one seemed to give a shit, which really bothered me, because it was a real pig pile. But I did harbor some anger about all that.
Gibson has voiced out how badly he has fallen under the attack of the woke left on several occasions. Despite his genius and creativity, the woke media has done everything to paint him as an enemy to the society. But the truth remains that Gibson is a one-in-a-generation kind of talent, and it doesn't matter what the media says about him, there are still many who believe in the noble personality that is Mel Gibson. Take, for example, Robert Downey Jr., who, in front of the entire world, stood up for Mel Gibson.
When I couldn't get sober, he told me not to give up hope, and he urged me to find my faith. It didn't have to be his or anyone else's as long as it was rooted in forgiveness. And I couldn't get hired, so he cast me in the lead of a movie that was actually developed for him. And he kept kept a roof over my head, and he kept food on the table. And most importantly, he said that if I accepted responsibility for my wrongdoings, and if I embraced that part of my soul that was ugly, hugging the cactus, he calls it. He said that if I hugged the cactus long enough, I'd become a man of some humility, and that my life would take on new meaning. And I did, and it worked. All he asked in return was that someday I help the next guy.
But there are also many who have spoken for the woke media on countless occasions, and have been at the forefront of smearing Mel Gibson, mostly for his daring movie productions and fearlessness in the face of bullying and control of the woke media.
And when asked who his sources for the film are, Mr. Gibson doesn't just mention the Gospels. He mentions a 19th century German nun, Anne Catherine Emmerich, whose evidence against the Jewish people was that they used Christian blood, the blood of Christian babies to be exact, to make matzahs at Passover time. The film is incidentally set at Passover time. I think most people will be proof against the nastiness and stupidity of this film. I don't think it will be anti-Semitic in effect, because I think it's boring and it's sadistic and it's lurid in equal.
Some of Gibson's take are purely on the grounds of artistic and creative integrity. He doesn't want to be of the fold who would give up their creative genius just to conform to the control and dictates of the woke media. The very idea that filmmaking has come to under the rules of guidance of a certain body doesn't do anything for the creative industry of filmmakers. For this, Gibson has willingly come under fire, and no doubt it has taken a toll on him. But with the release of the movie Sound of Freedom and the backlash it got from Hollywood, it became safe to say that Gibson was never the fearmonger he was labeled for years. He is actually a hero and a symbol of truth amidst the falsehood that has pervaded Hollywood for decades.
No, it's not solely financially based. I think that there's an art in marrying the two.
Sure.
And if you can find that balance and satisfy both requirements, then you are successful within the industry.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're not successful if you don't meet one of those requirements. You're just successful within this industry.
Gibson's only error was loving the creative aspect of filmmaking and being unwilling to give it up in the face of compromise. Many movie production companies have strayed away from making good movies and are preoccupied with being politically correct. The movie Sound of Freedom showed a great deal how much people want stories that touch on actual issues in society. Despite the media backlash, the movie ranked high in box office performance, putting Gibson on the spotlight once again.
Do you feel that way too?
Well, you know, I haven't directed in 10 years, so I guess, in a sense, I guess it is a comeback. Which is nice because it meant I had somewhere to come back from and something to aspire to. So that's nice.
What do you feel about all the great reviews that you're getting?
Hey, who doesn't want great reviews?
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than people going, you know. It's it seems to resonate, and that I'm gratified by that. So, you know.
And being back in Hollywood, in the Hollywood kind of game, is that?
Gibson's performance also in the movie Hacksaw Ridge was outstanding. His directing on this movie that was based off on the true story of American hero Desmond Doss, who single-handedly saved 75 comrades on the battlefield. It is the creation of films like this that take into consideration the representation of actual events and issues that affect society that has placed Gibson on the pinnacle of his career. A lot of people are convinced of the value that he has added to the medium, and nothing can change the influence which he has had on the entire filmmaking culture, not even Hollywood itself.
In Hollywood, in the Hollywood kind of game, is that?
Well, it's not really Hollywood. I mean, this is a made-in-Australia film. In fact, very few films are made here anymore. You talk about Hollywood. I mean, where is it really? I mean, it's kind of, there's a sign up there on the hill, but it doesn't really exist. It's this kind of nebulous thing that people apply to anything. This is an independent film made a world away, upside down at the bottom of the earth in the Antipodes, you know, and we bring back the bacon here, I guess.
Gibson has continued to show his resilience in the face of attacks, and he has served to inspire many others to stay true to their craft, regardless of the backlash and cancel efforts meted out against them. What do you think of Mel Gibson and his takes on woke culture? Is his fight against the woke media worth it? Let us know in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. To enjoy more videos like this, do well to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on great contents like this.